Okay, I'm live on YouTube. Okay, what's this do? Start a poll, start a Q&A. Oh, wow. Okay. Let's see, this is my first YouTube live, y'all. Yeah, it won't let me see the chat. If anyone is in here, will y'all say something? What's up, Bobby? Hey, y'all, welcome to my live. Okay, this is my first YouTube live, okay? So I'm a little nervous, but I wanted to take this opportunity to read a little bit from Blood in My Eye by George Jackson. This is just a series of collection of prison letters that he wrote to his brother. As most of us know, he spent majority of his life in prison, working, you know, to weaken the system from within the prison. And he read a lot and studied a lot while he was locked up. Let's see, what is this? I wish it would let me see who's in here. If anyone is in here, can y'all say something? I just want to see if I can see the chat. What's up, Philip? Are y'all allowed to leave comments? Can someone in the chat let me know? Okay, cool. Okay, cool, yes, yay. Hi, everyone. Okay. So, yeah, I'm gonna get started. Hey. Wait, how did you break a microwave? Did you put some foil in there? Outfit of the day? So literally the world is going fucking crazy, okay? We can all agree on that. The world's gone insane. Like, we have this illusion of, you know, protection, this illusion of, you know, we're in America, so nothing can go wrong here. But as we see, that is not the case. And I live streamed this book last summer, the summer before that, and it just wasn't hitting. I just felt like, I don't know, maybe I was a little too early with it. So I would like to bring it back and read a little bit of these prison letters that the author George Jackson sent to his brother Greg while he was locked up. Okay, The hypocrisy of American fascism forces it to conceal its attack on political offenders by the legal fiction of conspiracy laws and highly sophisticated frame-ups. The masses must be taught to understand the true function of prisons. Why do they exist in such numbers? What is the real underlying economic motive of crime in the official definition of types of offenders or victims? The people must learn that when one offends the totalitarian state, it is patently not an offense against the people of that state, but an assault upon the privilege of the privileged few. So, do y'all get what I'm saying? So, like, basically, he's like, dude, when people do, commit an offense or a crime, it's not a crime against neighbors. It's, you know, how was the police force even started to begin with? It was to protect the rich, to protect their property. Okay. Could anything be more ridiculous than the language of the blatantly political indictments? Quote, the people of the state versus Angela Davis and Rochelle McGee, or the people of the state versus Bobby Seale and Erica Huggins? What people? Clearly the hierarchy, the armed minority. We must educate the people in the real causes of economic crimes. They must be made to realize that even crimes of passion are these psychosocial effects of an economic order that was decadent 100 years ago. All crime can be traced to objective socioeconomic conditions, socially productive or counterproductive activity. In all cases, it is determined by the economic system, the method of economic organization. Quote, the people of the state versus John Doe is as tenuous as the clearly political frame-ups. It's like stating the people versus the people. Man against himself. Official definitions of crime are simply attempts by the establishment to suppress the forces of progress. Prisoners must be reached and made to understand that they are victims of social justice, of social injustice. This is my task, working from within. So remember, he's in prison. Where do sinners go when they die? Hell, only Jesus Christ save. Repent today, not tomorrow. Is that a bot? Y'all, this is my first YouTube live, so I'm learning what type of people be in here. I knew it. I knew as soon as I started reading a book that y'all were just gonna fuck off. How does it work? Do you tap the screen for more likes? I don't get it, but okay. The sheer numbers of the prisoner class and the terms of their existence make them a mighty reservoir of revolutionary potential. Working alone and from within a steel enclosed society, there is very little that people like myself can do to awake the restrained potential revolutionary outside the walls. That is part of the task of the prison movement. The prison movement, the August 7th movement, and all similar efforts educate the people in illegitimacy of establishment power and hint at the ultimate goal of revolutionary consciousness at every level of struggle. The goal is always the same, the creation of an infrastructure capable of fielding a people's army. Each of us should understand that revolution is aggressive. The manipulators of the system cannot or will not meet our legitimate demands. Yay. Okay, thank you. Yes, everybody subscribe to the stream. What the fuck? Y'all not subscribed yet? Don't make me go through this screen. Okay, legitimate demands. Legitimate demands. Legitimate demands. Legitimate demands. Legitimate demand is just like the right to live, you know? The right to not have to earn your existence. Literally, all throughout history, the only things people have demanded is to be treated like a fucking human, you know? Rat mode. I'ma hurt you, bro. Yeah, and this is not to say that, you know, when we've all throughout history have had legitimate demands, people don't want free shit. People don't have problems flipping burgers and scrubbing toilets and going to work. It's being paid what you're worth. It's being treated with dignity and respect on the job, you know? It's fuck the classes and the hierarchies within these, you know, institutions. That's all people are asking for, you know? And this small minority group that has all the power and has all the wealth loves to gaslight us into thinking that we're just asking for too much. And this book was written in like the 70s. So these are old legitimate demands that we're still asking for to this day. Okay. Eventually, this will move us all into a violent encounter with the system. Look where we are today. This is why I thought to stream this, because I'm like, damn, you know, I feel like a lot of people haven't read any of these George Jackson or Frantz Fanon. And there's good shit in here. Talk about, you know, doomerism and stuff. Like, if you pick up one of these books, you will be a little more optimistic. You'll understand a little bit more about what's going on in this extremely violent political economy that we live under. What's up, Mila Jackson? What's up, Wet Camera? A little bit of Hemingway. Not a lot. Mostly just a conglomeration of like a bunch of quotes. Okay. These are terminal years of capitalism, and as we move into more and more basic challenges to its rule, history clearly forewarns us that when the prestige of power fails, a violent episode precedes its transformation. So literally what I was just talking about before we began the stream here is I was like, dude, the illusion of power, the illusion of safety, the illusion of someone will be here to save us, more and more each day that illusion kind of wears off, don't it? The thing is we're all kind of sitting here waiting for someone to come do their big one, you know? And what I'm here to tell you, and what George Jackson here is here to tell you, is that those things have already been done. Everybody has already done their big one. Everything that could have happened to, you know, put a stop to this, to raise awareness, to, you know, we already had, what's his name, Aaron Bushnell self-emulate. We already had people on the flotillas. We already had, you know, everything and everyone that could have, you know, put a stop. They've already tried. So we're at that next part. You know what I mean? We're already past the phase of somebody will come in here and do something. And it's weird because if you're anything like me, you grew up thinking like, oh, the world's just going to be better as we get older. And, you know, no matter what you subscribe to spiritually, religiously, you know, whatever the fuck you're into, whatever you believe in, it's our material conditions that unite us. That's the one thing that we all, you know, exist under, this fuck-ass political economy of capitalism. So, okay. Prestige. Okay, so when the prestige of power fails, a violent episode precedes its transformation. We can attempt to limit the scope and range of violence and revolution by mobilizing as many partisans as possible at every level of socioeconomic life. But given the hold that the ruling class has on this country and its history of nothing could be more certain than civil disorders, perhaps even civil war. I don't dread either. There are no good aspects of monopoly capital, so no reservations need be recognized in its destruction. Monopoly capital is the enemy. It crushes the life force of all people. It must be completely destroyed as quickly as possible, utterly, totally, ruthlessly, relentlessly destroyed. With this as a common major goal, it would seem that anti-establishment forces would find little difficulty in developing common initiatives and methods consistent with the goals of mass society. Y'all with me? Are y'all still here with me? Regretfully, this has not been the case. Only the prison movement has shown any promise of cutting across the ideological, racial, and cultural barricades that have blocked the natural coalition of left-wing forces at all times in the past. So this movement must be used to provide an example for the partisans engaged at other levels of struggle. The issues involved in the dialectic which flows from an understanding of the clear objective existence of overt oppression could be the springboard for our entry into the tide of increasing worldwide socialist consciousness. In order to create a united left whose aim is the defense of political prisoners and prisoners in general, we must renounce the idea that all participants must be of one mind and should work at the problem from a single party line or with a single party line or with a single method. The reverse of this is actually desirable. Quote, from all according to their ability. Each partisan outside the vanguard element should work at radicalizing in the area of their natural environment, the places where they pursue their normal lives, when not attending the rallies and demonstrations. The vanguard elements, organized party workers of all ideological persuasions, should go among the people concentrated at the rallying point with consciousness-raising strategy, promoting commitment and providing concrete, clearly defined activity. The vanguard elements must search out people who can and will contribute to the building of the commune, the infrastructure, with pen and clipboard in hand. For those who aren't ready to take that step, a packet of pamphlets should be provided for their education. All of this, of course, means that we are moving and on a mass level, not all in our separate directions. So that's another thing I like to always talk about. So I grew up in Texas, I come from Dallas, and it's a very, conservative area. And you bring up socialism, communism, the first thing that these people usually say is, I don't want to give up on my money so somebody else can sit back and take my handout, or I don't want to cut my hair like this. I don't want to look like everyone else. I don't want to be like everybody else. And I just feel like, that's such a myth. That's not true at all. You can be your individual self and be a communist, Marxist, Maoist, you can be a socialist and be you, be uniquely you. All you can't do is deviate outside of the line, principally. As long as you're not exploiting anybody and you're not a fucking fascist, neo-Nazi, you can cut your hair, you can grow your hair, you can wear whatever you want. Like, the only thing is you got to move all together in the same direction. You can't get out of line. You know what I mean? Does it make sense? Okay. All of this, of course, means that we are moving, and on a mass level, not all in separate directions, but firmly under the principled and disciplined leadership of the vanguard Black Panther Communist Party. Quote, one simply cannot act without a head. Democratic centralism is the only way to deal effectively with the American ordeal. The Central Committee of the People's Vanguard Party must make its presence felt throughout the various levels of the overall movement. With the example of unity and the prison movement, we can begin to break the old behavioral patterns that have repeatedly allowed bourgeois capitalism, its imperialism and fascism to triumph over the last several decades. We tap a massive potential reservoir of partisans for cadre work. We make it possible to begin to address one of the most complex psychosocial byproducts that economic man with his private enterprise has manufactured: racism. So remember, it's all a class war. None of this cultural war, none of this race war, none of this, gender wars even. It's a class war. I've saved this most critical barrier to our needs of unity for last. Racism is a matter of ingrained traditional attitudes conditioned through institutions. For some, it is as natural as a reflex as breathing. The psychosocial effects of segregated environments, compounded by bitter class repression, have served in the past to render the progressive movement almost totally impotent. The major obstacle to a united left in this country is white racism. There are three categories of white racists: the overt, the self-satisfied racist who doesn't attempt to hide his antipathy; the self-interdicting racist who harbors and nurtures racism in spite of his best efforts, and the unconscious racist who has no awareness of his racist preconceptions. Let's see. As Black partisans, we must recognize and allow the existence of all three types of racists. We must understand their presence as an effect of the system. It is the system that must be crushed, for it continues to manufacture new and deeper contradictions of both class and race. Once it is destroyed, we may be able to address the problems of racism at an even more basic level, but we must also combat racism while we are in the process of destroying the system. The self-interdicting racist, no matter what his acquired conviction or ideology, will seldom be able to contribute with his actions in any really concrete way. His role in revolution, bearing a change of basic character, will be minimal throughout. Whether the basic character of a man can be changed at all is still a question. But we have, in the immediacy of the issues in question, the perfect opportunity to test the validity of materialist philosophy again. Because we don't have to guess, we have the means of proof. The need for Unitarian conduct goes much deeper than the liberation of Angela, Bobby, Erica, McGee, Los Siete, Tejerina, White Draft Resistors, and now the indomitable and faithful James Carr. We have fundamental strategy to be proved and tested and proved again. The activities surrounding the protection and liberation of people who fight for us are an important aspect of the struggle, but it is important only if it provides new initiatives that redirect and advance the revolution under new progressive methods. There must be a collective redirection of the old guard. the factory and the union agitator with the campus activist who can counter the ill effects of fascism at its training site, and with the lumpen proletariat intellectuals who possess revolutionary scientific socialist attitudes to deal with the masses of street people already living outside the system. They must work towards developing the unity of the pamphlet and the silenced pistol. Black, brown, white, all victims together. At the end of this massive collective struggle, we will uncover our new man, the unpredictable culmination of revolutionary process. He will be better equipped to wage the real struggle, the permanent struggle after the revolution, the one for new relationships between men. So we are the baddies? Yeah, we the baddies. Shannon, what's up, girl? Thank you. Can you say my name? Can you say my name? Say my name, say my name. I'm still here. All right, cool. Okay. All right, after the revolution has failed, after the is done, the ruling class goes on about business of making profits as usual. Because remember, guys, we don't have an economy, right? We don't have a real economy. Our economy is all killing, stealing, plundering, pillaging, invading. It's like, that's our economy. You know, we take other people's goods. You know, we force them to sell us their best fucking crops. You know, we don't really produce a whole lot out of here. So, after the revolution has failed, after the killing is done, the ruling class goes on about the business of making profits as usual, which is what they're doing right now after they just basically 1 million Gazans, 1 million Palestinians, which I'm sure the number is up there, you know, close to 1 million or maybe more. Okay. After the revolution has failed, all questions must center on how a new revolutionary consciousness can be mobilized around the new set of class antagonisms that have been created by the authoritarian reign of terror. At which level of social, political, and economic life should we begin our new attack? First, we, the Black partisans and their vanguard party, the old and the new left alike, must concede that the workers' revolution and its vanguard parties have failed to deliver the promised changes in property relations or any of the institutions that support them. This must be conceded without bitterness, name-calling, or the intensity that is presently building. There have been 2 depressions, 2 great wars, a dozen serious recessions, a dozen brush wars, crisis after economic crisis. The mass psychosocial national cohesiveness that has trembled on the brink of disruption and disintegration repeatedly over the last 50 years, threatening to fly apart from its own concentric inner dynamics. But at each crisis, it was allowed to reform itself. With each reform, revolution became more remote. This is because the old left has failed to understand the true nature of fascism. Are y'all still with me? Are y'all still here? Okay. We will never have a complete definition of fascism because it is in constant motion, showing a new face to fit any particular set of problems that arise to threaten the predominance of the traditionalist, capitalist ruling class. But if one were forced for the sake of clarity to define it in a word simple enough for all to understand, the word would be reform. We can make our definition more precise by adding the word economic. Economic reform comes very close to a working definition of fascist motive forces. Okay, I'm going to read this again. We will never have a complete definition of fascism because it is in constant motion, showing a new face to fit any particular set of problems that arise to threaten the predominance of the traditionalist, capitalist, ruling class. But if one were forced for the sake of clarity to define it in a word simple enough for all to understand, the word would be reform. We can make our definition more precise by adding the word economic. Economic reform comes very close to a working definition of fascist motive forces. Such a definition may serve to clarify things even though it leaves a great deal unexplained. Each economic reform that perpetuates ruling class hegemony has to be disguised as a positive gain for the upthrusting masses. So he's literally putting us on right now. He's literally like, bro, I got the blueprint. He's writing these letters from prison. He can't do shit but read, educate, and write these letters, you know. One second. Don't leave. So I remember when I was on TikTok and somebody was like, when I first got on TikTok 2 years ago, and somebody was like, oh yeah, define fascism. You don't even know what fascism is. And I know what it is, but even I was tongue-tied. I was like, military intervention? And it's literally right here. He's like, we'll never have a complete definition of fascism because it's always changing. These motherfuckers are always moving the fucking goalposts. They're always fucking, implementing these new policies and shit to make it look like it benefits the masses and benefits people. And this man here has been known since the 70s that that's all fucking bullshit. That's why I love this book, because he literally, he was just reading all damn day in prison, Because it's one thing to know when something's wrong, you want to critique something, but if you don't have the vocabulary, if you don't have the terminology, you don't have the verbiage to articulate yourself, it's like people that say, oh, I got life experience, I don't need to read theory. It's like, yeah, you do. You need to read theory, socialist theory for sure. Okay. Each economic reform that perpetuates ruling class hegemony has to be disguised as a positive gain for the upthrusting masses. Disguise enters a third stage of emergence and development of the fascist state. The modern industrial fascist state has found it essential to disguise the opulence of its ruling class leisure existence by providing the lower classes with a mass consumer's flea market of its own. To allow a sizable portion of the new state to participate in this flea market, the ruling class has established currency controls and minimum wage laws that mask the true nature of modern fascism. Reform, the closed economy, is only a new way for capitalism to protect and develop fascism. After the German SS agents or Italian black shirts kick in the doors and herd Jews and communist partisans to death camps, after peg-leg white black Legion terror and the guardians of the Republic and their offspring legitimize the FBI, in other words, after the fascists have succeeded in crushing the vanguard elements and the threat they pose is removed, the ruling class goes on about business of making profits as usual. The significance of the new fascist arrangement lies in the fact that this business as usual is accompanied by concessions to the degenerate segment of the working class with the aim of creating a buffer zone between the working class and still potentially revolutionary segments of the lower classes. Corporate ideals have reached their logical conclusion in the US. The new corporate state has fought its way through crisis after crisis, establishing its ruling elites in every important institution, formed its partnership with labor through its elites, erected the most massive network of protective agencies replete with spies, technical and animal, to be found in any police state in the world. The violence of the ruling class of this country and the long process of its trend toward authoritarianism and its last and highest state, fascism, cannot be rivaled in its excesses by any other nation on earth today or in history. With each advancement in the authoritarian process and strengthening of the ruling class's control over the system, there was a corresponding weakening of the people's and workers' movement. With each, and intellectuals still argue whether America is a fascist country. Guys, this is crazy. I was having this exact argument with a Maoist group in Miami about 2 years ago. And they're like, oh, it's, we don't have fascism here. This is what fascism is. And I was like, girl, the economy is fascist as fuck, queen. What you want me to say? Just because we don't have fucking CIA plants coming up and, fake news happening, showing us what fascism is, to like, oh, look at this horrible regime over there. That's fucking fascism for you. Fuck out of here. Fuck off. All governments are inherently authoritarian. Okay? All power must consolidate. Bro, we have to get that through our heads. This George Jackson here in the 70s talking about, intellectuals still arguing whether America is a fascist country or not. Well, here we are in 2026. What kind of flavor of fascism, are we talking about here? Okay, let me read this again. This concern is typical of the American left's flight from reality, from any truly extreme position. This is actually a manifestation of the authoritarian process seeping into its own psyche. At this stage, how can anyone question the existence of a fascist arrangement? Just consider the awesome centralization of power and the proven fact that the largest part of the gross national product is in the hands of a minute portion of the population. Oh, minute, my bad. Of a minute portion of the population. Of course the revolution has failed. Fascism has temporarily succeeded under the guise of reform. The only way we can destroy it is to refuse to compromise with the enemy state and its ruling class. Compromises were made in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s. The old vanguard parties made gross strategic and tactical errors. At the existential moment, the last revelation about oneself, not many members of the old vanguard choose to risk their whole futures, their lives, in order to alter the conditions that Huey P. Newton describes as destructive of life. Reformism was allowed. The more degenerate elements of the working class were first to succumb. The vanguard parties supported the capitalistic war adventure in the World War II. Then they helped promote the mass consumers market that followed the close of the war. The flea market that muted the workers' more genuine demands. Today we are faced with a clearly different set of class antagonisms. The complexities of a particularly refined fascist economic arrangement where the controlling elites have co-opted large portions of the lowly working class. Ain't that what we got today with MAGA? It's the same shit, y'all. History repeating itself over and over and over, showing us that reform will not, cannot, is not gonna work. It's not compatible with people. It's a fucking caca. It's fucking shit. It's not gonna work. We did it in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. And people are still saying, oh, vote in the midterms. Guys, I'm gonna fucking bash my head. If I hear somebody talk about voting in the midterms, bro, I'm gonna fucking lose it. What else do we need to see to know that this is not gonna work? You know, we shouldn't have an ounce of fucking hope in this system that isn't made for us. You know, it may seem like we don't have a lot of power, but that's all we are, is power, and they know this. They know that, you know, we are all born innately wealthy and powerful. Everything you need is already here. That's why everything in this world is designed to exploit, extract, take, distract, extract, exploit from you. Because they want to take your fucking power. This is why, you know, we all got to be up in arms together. You know, we're giving this way too much power. You know what I mean? I'm going to use everything available, but honestly, it's a joke. Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm all cool for voting at a local level, you know, your city, local elections, but the federal, like, bro, it's bold for people to assume that we're even gonna have midterms. You know what I mean? Like, look at all these wars we're poking the bear, we're fucking starting shit with everybody. He's gonna use that as an excuse, you know? We're not even gonna have midterms. Okay. Where are we? Where was I? Oh, here we go. When we ask ourselves, where will we attack the enemy state? We are answered at the productive point. The next logical question is, with whom and what will we attack the fortified entrance of the productive and distributive system and a nation of short-sighted, contented, and conservative workers? Obviously, the fascist movement is a counter-revolution at its very center. Fascist reformism is a calculated response to the classic scientific socialist approach to revolution through positive mobilization of the working classes. From its inception, the fascist arrangement has attempted to create the illusion of a mass society in which the traditional capitalist ruling class would continue to play its leading role. A mass society that is not a mass society of authoritarians whose short-term material interests are perfectly suited to the development of perfect totalitarian state and centralized economy. The most precise definitions of fascism involve the concept of scientific capitalism. Fuck out of here. Or controlled capitalism. Okay, sounds like some more bullshit. A sophisticated, totalitarian, learned response to the challenge of egalitarian scientific socialism. After its successful establishment in Spain, Portugal, Greece, South Africa, and the United States of America, we are faced with the obvious question: how to raise a new consciousness. Working to reclaim that power. Let's fucking go, baby. We are faced with the task of raising a positive mobilization of revolutionary consciousness in a mass that has gone through a contra-positive authoritarian process. The new vanguard elements seem to agree that withdrawal from the enemy state and its social, political, and economic life is the first step to destruction. Destruction of what, y'all? This bullshit ass fucking capitalist system that is on its way out, okay? It is our job in the imperial core, okay? We're in the dragon's clutches, so to speak. It is our job to weaken the beast from within. It's the least that we can do when we've been reaping all the fucking rewards and all the fucking benefits and shit, all the comforts subsidized off the global south, okay? It is the least we can do to not buy in, to find a system, you know? Get 3 people together. Somebody works, makes all the money, 2 other people organize, another person does, you know, there's ways we can do this. Get smart, you gotta get creative. You know what I mean? We can't all just shield ourselves into hyper-individualism. They're like, oh, not me, I can't do anything, I have to go to work. Yeah, we all have to fucking work. We all live under this system. If you don't work, you don't eat. You literally die if you don't go make money. So we just need to reprioritize, you know, we have to change what we give value to, you know? I've been on a journey of this myself the past 5 years, you know? I used to be a retail manager. I used to be a car saleswoman. You know, I used to be all about buying the latest model of cars. I used to be all about, you know, buying new shoes every week. I used to be all about, you know, traveling somewhere. And I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to guilt or shame anybody into like, you know, consuming, because we know that consumerism is not capitalism, because everything is made by the workers, you know what I mean? But there's certainly things that we can do targeted, you know, together, collectively. We can continue to have these targeted boycotts, you know, we can continue to divest from these institutions. We can, you know, take our kids out of these fuck-ass colleges, you know, go to a fucking community college, you know, stop giving institutions prestige and power, you know, because that's what keeps it keeps perpetuating it. Okay, sorry, I went off there a little bit. Okay. All right, here we go. The new vanguard elements seem to agree that the new revolutionary consciousness will develop in the struggles of withdrawal. However, after this point, agreement grows vague and is all but lost in a sea of contradiction. The contention turns on one primary question: the scope and the range of within the revolutionary process. So I'm gonna try to say this in a way that will not get me banned during my first fucking live on YouTube. How do I word this? The freer, how do I word this? The freer you wanna be, okay? The more of the means that you wanna seize, the equity that you wish to see in this world, the power that you wish to see in your lifetime be reclaimed by people, is gonna be dependent upon how you, everyday people, are willing to be, okay? I think I did okay with that. Because, you know, it's okay when they do it, but it's a problem when we do it. It's okay when they go in, but we're not even allowed to block the fucking street or shut down a bridge. You know what I mean? So we're not gonna solve 3D worldly issues with 3D fucking mindset and tools. We need to elevate our consciousness. We can't have a bunch of dumbasses that were paid by the CIA popping up to protest revolution, because we know that's a psyop. We know if we start seeing shit like that, you need to call up your local communists and socialists and be like, you see this fucking bullshit? We need people to get out there and say, hey, you gotta set the record straight over here. Don't know socialists and communists want to bomb Iran. Got me fucked up. I mean, number one, you're anti-imperialist. The left starts at anti-capitalism. So to be out here, free Iran, is not something somebody on the left is gonna do, since the left begins at anti-capitalism, right? So the more educated we are, the more well-read we are on these issues, the more we can't be tricked. We can't be infiltrated. We can't be fooled. You know, these fucking cops are stupid as fuck. They're dumb as fuck. They're definitely not gonna sit here and read all these books. And even if they do, they're not gonna apply them in real life. They're gonna be caught up. They're gonna get fucking caught up. They're gonna be found out. Because ain't no way somebody's gonna actually take in all that heavy literature, that socialist theory, and prove to, like, you know, this is why the Black Panthers had such heavy reading requirements, because they knew that the more everybody's principled and well-read, that they can't be fucking infiltrated. This is also why they are so violent, by the way. This is also why the ruling class elites are just, I mean, look at what's happening right now, currently. You know, they're clearly losing. They've been losing. And so they're going to take the whole world down and out with them, because they're sore losers, because they're cheaters, because they're fucking cowards. And they always have been, you know? And here we are in 2026. I mean, we're so overdue for this to fucking end already, you know? For this empire to fucking retire already. Okay, I'm almost done here. I'm gonna finish up with this chapter. Okay. After the lengthy and clearly unnecessary ideological battle that laid to rest the direct approach to revolution by the white or black worker, we are now faced with an equally unnecessary ideological battle over which of the various communal revolutionary cultural approaches has stronger revolutionary validity. The problem is compounded by the almost apolitical withdrawal of the growing Weatherman faction and their estranged allies on campus to organic food gardens and a life of sex, music, and drugs. Their Nazian Hegelian withdrawal mimics the European historical experience of the last 5 generations. In our equation, this must be considered the minor side of syllogism. Can't talk. I got my Invisalign in, y'all, and I'm having a hard time enunciating. Okay. Though revolution is in fashion, the realistic, cohesive synergism seems as yet impossibly remote. On the other side of the equation, we have Huey Newton's concept of black communes set well within the huge population centers of the enemy state. This concept accepts any level of violence that will be necessary to enforce the demands of people and workers. And literally, this is how it should be, guys. It has to get worse before it gets better. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but there's not going to be some peaceful transfer of power. It's going to cost, you know, lives. It's going to be violent. It's going to be dark. It's going to be messy. It's going to be, you know, I'm sad for it. I'm sorry for it. I feel like the real chosen ones are our generations. You know, they always talk about the chosen people and shit. Nah, the real chosen ones are the millennials, Gen Z, like our souls incarnated here at this time, this moment of history. It's up to us. You know, heaven on earth. Not heaven created up here when you die is the biggest fucking myth. They want us to break our fucking backs and die for them. And also be the energy harvest for them to keep this fucking blood money machine going. And I'm sick of not talking about it. I'm not doing it no fucking more, and neither should y'all. You know, matter of fact, I'm gonna spend the rest of my life never shutting the fuck up about any of this shit. You know, once you know the truth, dude, it's like, what can I compare it to? It's like, I don't know, what's your favorite fucking hack? And you just want to share it with everybody because it helps people. It's like that, but way bigger, way more meaningful, way more, you know, more of a purpose. Like, once you see the playbook, you see the U.S. foreign policy over and over again, and it's not hidden. There's notes, there's CIA declassified documents, there's books, fucking tons of books, things written on these historical records on what these motherfuckers do and how they come to power and what they do to stay in power. So at this moment in time, if you are still walking around, shopping at the mall, drinking Starbucks, acting like everything's fucking fine, baby, you need to go hide somewhere, because I swear, when it gets really, really messy, the ones that have been so fucking smug, the ones that have been so fucking, well, yeah. You better take your number off Spokio. You better take your shit off Truth Finder. All these people got names and addresses, bro. Okay. Okay. La 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 la. So within the population of the state. Okay, the question I've asked myself over the years runs this way. Who has done the most dying, the most work, most of the time in prison? Who is the hindmost or hindmost in every aspect of social, political, and economic life? Who has the least short-term interest or no interest at all in the survival of the present state? In this condition, how could we believe in the possibility of a new generation of enlightened fascists who would dismantle the basis of their hierarchy? Just how many Just how many Americans are willing to accept the physical destruction of some parts of their fatherland so that the rest of the land in the world might survive in good health? How can the black industrial worker be induced to carry out a valid workers' revolutionary policy? What and who will guide him? The commune, the central citywide revolutionary culture. But who will build the commune that will guide the people into a significant challenge to property rights? Carving out a commune in the central city will involve claiming certain rights as our own out front, rights that have not been respected till now. property rights. It will involve building a political, social, and economic infrastructure capable of filling the vacuum that has been left by the establishment ruling class and pushing the occupying forces of the enemy culture from our midst. The implementation of this new social, political, and economic program will feed and comfort all of the people on at least a sustenance level and force the owners of the enemy bourgeois culture either to tie their whole fortunes to the communes and the people, or leave the land, the tools, and the market behind. If he will not leave voluntarily, we will expel him. We will rise. We will use the shotgun and the anti-tank rocket launcher. Shoot, I don't know if I was supposed to say that or not. I love this. Okay, who will build on an ideal that begins with force? The vanguard party is now nationwide, but vanguard parties cannot build revolutions alone. Nor can a vanguard party expect full party line agreement before it moves in the direction of the people. Revolution is illegal. Okay? It's against the law, okay? It is prohibited, okay? It will not be allowed, okay? It is clear that the revolutionary is a lawless man. The outlaw and the lumpen will make the revolution. The people, the workers, will adopt it. This must be the new order of things after the fact of the modern industrial fascist state. Okay, guys, I'm gonna end right there. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed reading it to y'all. So some takeaways here. Reform never worked. We did that 30s, 40s, 50s, still up into this day. There ain't gonna be no midterms, and we're only gonna be as free and have all of our power back as violence as we are willing to get. We cannot solve 3D issues with 3D mindset, 3D tools. We gotta raise our consciousness, okay? And you can do that by listening to me read, and you can certainly go read these books yourself. Also, Marxist.org is a great fucking resource, a great source. Marxist archives, you can literally type in anything you want to learn about. Also, please subscribe to the stream, please. Yes, and yeah, that's it. All right, thanks for being here, and y'all have a great rest of your day. Okay, bye.